You're listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt Olson. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. Hello. Welcome to part 2 of this episode with Taylor Turner of Healing in Hindsight. If you missed part 1, head back. It's the last episode just before this one, episode number 16, to listen to the beginning of Taylor's story as she goes into her experience in getting diagnosed with diabetes at such a young age, the just tumultuous emotions and just exchanges of things that take place for her dealing with the medical world, and then on top of it dealing with the medical world as a Black woman. And then we go into talking a little bit more as to racial injustice, some of the different systems that are in place, the male versus female struggles, and then in this episode we really jump in and just kind of dissect some of the issues and blind spots that exist in the wellness world, the differences between different income communities and what is products that are available or unavailable to them, and just kind of a lot of hopes for the future, a lot of truths, a lot of just uncovering a lot of the issues that take place within our society as it pertains to big business, the corporate world, communities, products, leaders, just all things involved. This episode is so good. I'm so excited for you guys to jump into part 2 to listen to the wrap up of this. Taylor's wisdom, it speaks volumes for who she is, where she is in this lifetime, lessons she's already learned. We even go into the art of communication within relationships and managing some difficult conversations, but conversations that very much so need to be had. So definitely stick around for the end as well, where we jump into a little bit about psychedelics, different documentaries, and some things that definitely would encourage all of you to tap into, and just some different ways to expand the brain. So I hope you enjoy it. I am really excited. I love Taylor. She is just such a beautiful soul and so strong, so much wisdom, and I just really honor her bravery and courage to speak out and speak about topics, and her openness to really wanting to change the world and shake things up, but all from a place of love. Everything she speaks, which you can really feel it in her words, is just always from a place of love. So much respect for her, a lot of respect for you guys. As always, I'm so grateful to have you tuning in here with me today. But before we jump into today's episode, I did just want to chat a little bit about one of my favorite wellness products, which is a brand called Four Sigmatic. Four Sigmatic makes a whole different blend of different mushroom elixirs, coffee blends, so many cool products. They even have protein powders and face masks. Highly encourage you to check them out if you're looking for full body support, whether immune support, looking to kind of chill out in the evening or beat those sugar cravings. Their cacao reishi blend is one of my favorite, just kind of like nighttime elixirs to kind of chill myself out. Helps beat those sugar cravings that come in. Sometimes I even enjoy it in the morning in replace of coffee. What else do they have? They have lion's mane, which is a mushroom that is really good for the brain, keeps your attention span, that kind of long-lasting focus and energy. And yeah, definitely check out their products at foursigmatic.com. If you follow the link in the show notes, you can get $15 off of your first order. So I highly encourage you to do so. They're also running so many summer sales. You really cannot go wrong. And at the end of the day, you're supporting your body. So go check out Four Sigmatic. And in the meantime, let's jump into today's episode with Taylor of Healing in Hindsight.
They've built it completely into the system that my skin is a problem. They have trained and conditioned all of us to, I was raised on how to navigate being in the space of white people. You were raised to how to navigate the space of your privilege. Mm-hmm. Nobody told you you needed to be articulate so that way people would take you seriously because they don't think that Black people can be educated. You were just told to be articulate.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, nobody is getting that.
Be the best, be the top of your class, etc. Not this is what you straight up have to do to basically survive.
Right. And meet those same requirements, because it's going to be 10 times harder for me to rise above that. And it's not fun at all, because then you're also judged for not being Black enough in some spaces. And that's something that I've had to deal with, is like, my identity was constantly shifted. Yeah, it's been constantly shifted, because there's an aspect which I understand of like staying true to who we are and our roots, and not forgetting that. And it's more, I think, in our community, an aspect of being left behind, and that, you know, the hood can't come with you, basically. And it's like, no, it can. You just have to want it. You have to be able to, somebody's got to go pave the way for us to be able to do this, so I can bring it back to you. So I can take this education and push it back into the cities. And sometimes we get to a place where it's just like, I left and I never want to go back, because it was so rough being in that environment, because I was hated so much in that environment. But in this environment, I'm also hated, but at least I have a little bit of respect, because I grinded and I scraped and I did all these things. And that's another reason why I really want to do this, because I want to show people, like, we got to pour back into the community. And that's an aspect that we need to do more, is we need the better communication, and we need to pour back into these communities. And yeah, there's going to be a level of patience that we have to have, because people are going to be very skeptical. People are going to be like, we'll never get out of this. Our mentality is so broken in our community sometimes, of like, we will never be able to have a flourishing tribe and village like we used to, because we're just so broke down. We can't have nice things. We just got to do what we got. And it's just like, no. We really can. We just need to take the initiative of sending somebody out, you know, getting the education and bringing it back, and making it palatable for our own people to get. Like, there's not enough of us learning business. There's not enough of us learning trades anymore. We used to be the trade system, because we were enslaved. We learned how to do everything. And the minute that we were free to let go, oh my God, so many things came about, so many inventions, so much that the Black community has brought, because we were working with our hands constantly. And that's died out a little bit. Craftsmanship is gone, you know? So it's just something that is a constant roller coaster of like, okay, if I can't get help, when I say help, you know, to my allies or white counterparts, or whatever you know language you want to use with that, because nobody's taking me seriously, because they think that I'm a strong Black woman, you should be able to handle it. And then I can't go back to my community and say, hey guys, some of us have to go out, and we actually really need to understand this stuff and bring it back. Well, if you leave, you know, stay out there. And we see it in Disney movies and stuff all the time, like Pocahontas. You know, not to say that the dude she was engaged to didn't have a point. He had a point, right? And unfortunately he died for it. But there's an aspect of that of like, we got to go learn, and we need to teach them, we're not savages. We're just as educated and capable as y'all are. But we also, yes, need to keep up with the times just a little bit and understand what's going on over there. If we don't understand what's going on over there, we don't know how to fortify ourselves over here either. And so that's a space where really wellness needs to step up.
Totally. I was going to ask you, because the wellness industry is, I mean, it's pretty much all white, we'll call it. Like, even just if you take yoga, for example, or going and getting smoothie bowls, or just even all of the kind of most of the wellness influencers and educators and things out there. I mean, it is a white dominated industry, and like many things, it's a shame that it's been allowed to get that far. And there are a lot of Black women who have so many just incredible viewpoints and abilities to educate within the industry and everything, that it's just, I hope with this movement that will all continue. But what is your opinion, just kind of the wellness? So you've had to deal, like, on the medical side with a chronic illness and diagnosis, and being in these white dominated hospitals and things, in which you already have to advocate for your health in general, no matter the color of your skin, yet you have to do it times 20, which I can only imagine what that's been like for you. But then trying to kind of turn to like an alternative route, and then still seeing this like white dominated industry. Did you feel put off by it at all, or was it just kind of okay, whatever, they'll catch up eventually?
Yeah, it was a struggle, you know. I've always been one that's had a very eclectic friend group, so it didn't really hit me how left out I felt until I started engaging in, you know, seeking out answers and finding all of these, you know, wellness people that have kind of, you know, kind of that mid-tier celebrity. That's kind of how I see influencers. They're not at the status of like a Kim Kardashian or something like that, but they're doing well enough that people are paying attention, right? And so
Exactly.
all
And I actually, it's funny you say that because I've never been one to really follow Hollywood or celebrities or anything like that. Like I have my music that I love, but I couldn't tell you who's in what movie or TV show. But on an influencer side and wellness industry, I mean, there's so many people that have become virtual mentors for me that know nothing about me, but I look up to them. Well, some I don't quite look up to the way I did, but most of them I look up to.
yeah, yeah, it's weird. One, just seeing like I didn't realize you had this much clout. Like, this is a thing. You know what I mean? Like, this is a thing, and how do I not know? Like, because there's an expectation that, you know, once you hit a certain point, you're seen and know everywhere. But it really is just like, no, it's just depending on the industry that you're interested in. I'm sure I could go off and find a whole huge, large million following for, I don't know, rock climbing or something like that, you know, and it's they're famous in that industry, right? So that was something that, you know, is just initial shock of like, I didn't realize that this was like almost like a career path kind of thing. I'm like, oh, I could do this, you know. But as I started to seek and find more, yeah, white all the way through and through. And so it was hard, you know, although there was still valuable information, it was just like, I don't know if I can navigate this. I don't know if I can go to these events. I don't know if I can do these things because I don't really see anybody that looks like me that can attest to this. I'll use hair products as an example. So I'm curly through and through, right? When I started to stop chemically relaxing my hair, which that's a whole beauty standard conversation we'd have to have elsewhere. And I started, yeah, and I started growing out my hair curly. One of the things that, you know, when the forums stuff started popping up about like how Black women can really just reconnect with their curly hair, it was, I had to go, one, there wasn't just a lot of products in general for women with curly hair, right? And if they were, I had to mix so much shit just to get it to work with mine because it's not, I have very coarse, very tightly coiled hair and it takes a lot. I need a lot of moisture, you know, things like that. And so it wasn't until that industry started to pick up that the other brands like your Garnier, like your Tresemme, like your what's another one, Pantene, Dove, that's like, oh, Black people have curly hair too. No shit, Sherlock. Like, it's kind of been a thing for a while. Y'all wanted to rock Jerry curls so bad. How do you not realize that we have curly hair? Like, I don't understand. So it's, you know, so that's kind of how I see the wellness space right now is, you know, there's a lot of very, you know, white or white passing influencers that I respect, don't get me wrong. But I had to dig so hard to find women of color. Like the yogis that I follow that are Black, it took a minute of scrolling and just using the right hashtags and all these things to find them. It took a minute. I found one other influencer who I would love to collaborate with. So one day I hope to reach out to her in Houston, who is on kind of a similar niche as me. Only other Black woman that I found in that space, and she's doing really well. And so it's exciting for me because I literally hopped on her Instagram and I commented on one of her photos like, oh my God, I am so happy you are here. I thought I was alone. I found another Black woman who is advocating for type 2 diabetes and is going through it, talking about it and doing, you know, really great YouTube videos on recipes and things like that. It's not really my particular lane, but just to see somebody, I'm like, we're here. Holy shit. We're here. And then I have to dig more and more. And I'm like, I didn't even realize. And now with this movement, more are being lifted up. And that just shows the power of access, of why are we not taking other women of color seriously? And it isn't until they are just beasting in their own right that they're even on anybody else's radar.
that you had to dig that deep to try to find one person. One person.
And apparently at least from all of the start a blog and here's a good following kind of thing, like, and here's what agencies will do for ad space. Like as long as you got about 10K followers, you're kind of in a good, they got just the same amount of, where was I? Where was I? Where did I slack in my black card of like, why didn't y'all tell me? You know what I mean? Because there's just no access. And so it's frustrating. It's so frustrating sometimes. And especially when you see a lot of these wellness spaces spending more time bickering and talking about like, yes, I appreciate, wellness communities and like a lot of these wellness brands and like, that have a lot of impact advocating for me. I keep telling people like, this has been since day one for me. So having to navigate all this stuff, it's been since day one for me. And yes, there's stuff that I gotta unlearn too. I gotta start to trust you a little bit because I'm not sure if you've seen Hard Conversations with a Black Man. There's one that he does with look him up, it's great. I'll find that too for you. He does one with the Chip and Joanna Gaines from Fixer Upper. I love Chip and Joanna Gaines. Oh my god, just the fact that I'm like 2 hours away from them, I'm like, I would love to have a conversation with them. Like they are business goals for me, like straight up, like the multiple string. Anyways, I could go on that for days. They bring their whole family on to do this, to talk about this. And there's something that one of their kids asked that I thought was so powerful in the response. And the older son asked, he's like, no, the youngest daughter asked, sorry. She's like, are you afraid of white people? Just straight up. And I love kids because they ain't got no filter. They're mean, they have no filter, and they see stuff that we don't. And
we gotta get the best. And they just ask. No inhibitions. They're like, I have a question. I'm just going to ask it.
Right. They're not trying to think about, is this hurting somebody's feelings? Which I think that's where we lose ourselves a little bit, But he's like, I'm not afraid of white people. I'm just cautious. And he says, it's like electricity and water, right? You need both. However, if they have a negative reaction, it could be detrimental. It could kill you, right? We can navigate in the same space. We need water in our homes. We need electricity in our homes too. But if you drop a blow dryer that's hooked up and turned on into your bathtub, yikes, right? That's the same thing that you're seeing all over the place. Is you're just seeing a lot of water and electricity start to have all these negative reactions and not realizing that it's okay for us to be in the same space. We just have to not have that interaction that's going to cause such a heavy impact. And so that's what I'm seeing in the wellness space. I'm seeing more people scream and shout on behalf of experiences that they don't know instead of shutting the fuck up and let other people talk. Like point blank period. It's I don't care if it's me, to be quite honest, because it is the thing that I see in every type of major movement is you have a rise of women who suddenly are super knowledgeable in all things LGBTQ, Black, all these things, and it's not their lived experience, and they're saying, well, you don't know this and you don't know that, and you need to defend these people, and you need to, we're not asking you to necessarily defend us. We're saying, can you sit back for 2 seconds, because there's way too many of y'all than there is us. Let us speak, listen, and then go check yourself if you start feeling really weird feelings about it. Because when people start to share their feelings about it in this space and are essentially like putting the spotlight on themselves, we're losing the point. We're losing the point. It is not to say that you can't feel what you feel. It is not to say that this is not heavy stuff. But in this wellness space, in the space where you're talking about really checking in, and, there's a lot of brands that, that are very spiritual, and it's just like, I don't understand why you are still making this about you. I don't need you to do that because that's what you've already been doing. Now you're just flipping it in an advocatory lens. I don't even know if that's a real word. It just sounded cool, but you're doing this advocacy, which is great, but I'd rather you advocate and say, okay, here's my opinion on it, but now I'm going to bring you a resource. Here's a person who's lived this, because I can't speak to this and I need to sit down, shut the fuck up, and learn too. right? And that's what we're missing is like, I want you to feel stuff. I have no beef with anybody who wants to share that. Like, this is a lot. And I know people use, we're such an internet-based society now that space is good for venting because people feel like they can actually be heard because they can't do it with their own support systems. It's something that we also need to work on in that. And like your support system should always be able to hear and let you vent so that way when you do go public with something or when you do step forward and want to share an opinion about something, you can really do it from a place that's neutral and be able to facilitate these conversations. But the attacking and the shock of, oh, I didn't know that there wasn't enough, black people in the space. Yes, you did.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, you did. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. And at the point that, a lot of these, especially nutrition brands, I'm like, food shouldn't be able to discriminate. So I don't understand why you are not factoring in the stats of like things that are happening in the food industry in these marginalized communities and really putting your weight in that. There's just no way you can ignore that, I don't get it. And even what the products that come from it. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to purchase something and I'm like, I can't afford this. Right? And it's not to say that that has anything to do with my race specifically. That's just an income thing. But at the same time, if you are going to claim that you're for everybody, if you are going to price something when you're starting out, think about that. In nutrition itself, I feel like you should probably be targeting the lower communities that are the most heavily affected by lack of access to quality food and sources. That could be a number of races in and in itself. Right? Like, to me, that's the focus. If you're helping people with their nutrition, stuff like that, if you're, a high middle class white woman and you can buy all of these brands and you can do all of these things for yourself, great. I'm glad you're taking that step forward. But what about the communities that can't? Literally, they can't. I can't buy a $60 green powder that's in this little itty bitty thing and it's supposed to last me 30 days and I got a family of 6 to feed. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that could be anybody in that low income space. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I just would appreciate seeing the wellness industry really come together and have effect on the communities that they claim that they want to help. If that community really is middle-aged women in general or middle-income women in general, okay, cool. But I don't feel like enough brands in general, and that's influencer, that's big corporate, whatever, are actually pouring into the communities that really need the help, even though you want to sit up here and put up a black square or a rainbow flag and say, I'm here with you.
It goes back to the root cause of getting back to the very beginning of where the differences are starting and supporting and assisting and working through there. And like, yeah, of course, everyone's got to make money, but like if people can, corporations will say, or brands can make donations to certain nonprofit organizations who 100% need the funding and need the money and all that. I work in nonprofits myself, so I'm all for it. But at the same time, you should be able to find some sort of marginal error in your products and be able to provide them to the lower income communities and brackets and things like that who equally need the products. Like, it's not like there's this green powder science that only benefits somebody with white skin. We all have the same human body makeup, more or less. Like, yeah, certain nationalities and things like that, cultural differences, foods affect a little bit differently, but it's not like, oh, this superfood green powder is only going to work for white women.
Right.
It's going to benefit everybody. Like, kale is going to help everyone, just not everyone can afford it.
Right. And then it pushes all of these other places that have very low quality, because I can find some green powder and it's absolute crap.
Yeah.
Right. They're saying, oh, there's a trend in this, so let's skimp on the quality, because I think that's the part when it comes to money. And I know from a business sense, it's a little left field, right? Of, hey, if I skimp on quality and the product, that means that I'm skimping on paying people. No, keep the quality high. Just be willing to take a little bit of a loss, because I feel like it's just like kind of the whole drug situation. You give them a taste for free, they'll keep coming back, right? Give them the chance.
Mm-hmm.
Give them the chance. And then maybe you can see that. I think there's a brand that I think does it in a very strategic but eloquent way. And that was Starwood, now Marriott. Yeah, they merged, and that whole merge, right? So I used to work for them a long time ago, when they were still a separate brand. And then they have, like 7 or 8 hotel brands within it. And then they did a subset of brands, right? So Sheraton, the W, Westin. Is there a fourth one? Yeah, those 3 are major big hotels that right?
Yeah.
What a lot of people I feel like don't know is that they have like baby sister, baby brother hotels that match the quality of those 3 brands and the mood and idea of them, but at a more affordable price without it looking like, a motel off the side of the road, right?
Which
So
is genius.
right. So Sheridan has the oh God, I can't remember what it's called. I know for the Westin it's the Element. So if you look at the Element and the Westin, they have that kind of spa like very green kind of feel, right? And then for the W, it's I don't know if it's Aloft. I never could get that right.
Oh, I don't know how to say it correctly either.
I worked there, and I'm like, is it Aloft? Right? So, but it has that urban, that very young, that very hip kind of feel, right? Still the same, and they're usually smaller, and they're usually almost like kind of like a little apartment suites in a way, and they're usually cheaper, right? Got an example right here. Do the same thing. If you don't want to like completely, give people a step down, and I do see it in a way of like, okay, here are these sample to go packets, right? I think that's a good start in some of these ways, pricing a little bit lower, but you're still getting the same thing, and it's in this to go thing, and you're not getting as many servings as you would. Like, there are ways to do it without having to say, I got to completely dismantle my entire profit margin in order to affect the community. Or get with leadership in the community, pour into that, and then donate product for these events, for these big community pushes, because then at least it's out there and they're like, I feel great, I feel good. What the hell am I drinking right now? You know what I mean? Or put it into the hands of people of like, this tastes gross, but you know what? I got this bomb like sweet potato pie smoothie spin that I know you'll love, and it's got all this good healthy stuff in there. Your kids won't know the difference. You know what I mean? Like, you have no clue what people are capable of in these communities if you just give them a little bit of access. And the influencer space are a bunch of stories of people who were in desperate or low situations. They had an idea and they sprung for it. And it's just like, bring it back. That's what I want. Healing in Hindsight is only one piece. I've been scheming for the last 3 weeks on some stuff. You know what I mean? To bring it back to the community, because we've lost that. We've lost that tribe, that village aspect where we look out for one another, and that, hey, if Jimmy down the street is kind of having some issues right now, and then, he can't really get quality meals, and we're going to pull together and we're going to make sure he's got quality meals. What happened to that? We've gotten so, I'm going to be about mines and mines only, that the pay it forward kind of thing, it's just falling away before our eyes. And the wellness space is the one space that can be the glue between that. And nobody wants to step forward and do that. And that's the part that's frustrating,
100%. And I think we also fall short as well. And there's nothing wrong with going to Starbucks and you decide to buy the coffee for the person behind you and you hope that like, that's great. Like, I love seeing that, but I think we fall short with acts of that, of thinking, oh, okay, like I did something. Like that person, they needed it, which if they're already at Starbucks, they're obviously affording different things that other people can't afford. So like, it's great that you're helping people, but you're not necessarily helping the right people, in my opinion. And with corporations and income differences as well, it's like, how much money do we all need? Like, can you take a loss? Do you really need all that money that you're like, what are you actually doing with all that money? And it's because we are in that individualist mindset of, we're all individuals. I'm in it for me, nobody else. And good luck to you. I'm going to push you off the ship so I can get on it. Instead of let's work together. I mean, just even the government and the amounts of money that is in these industries, it is sickening of what you could do with it and make such a big impact.
Right. And I can't help. I'm like, where is it all going? You know? And my thing is like, and if you're not putting into these communities, but you do start these initiatives, be genuine about it. Like, not everything needs to have a business end to it, you know, because I do see some acts where it's like, okay, we're going to provide, you know, this, I'm just literally off the top of my head, like this coding academy or whatever in this school, but we're still going to price gouge it to death, and we're still going to require you to have devices that you can't afford. And then I want you to come work for me. No, this is not a way where you just get systematic free labor, essentially, like you're building your army indirectly. No, this is giving people tools and access to education and then letting them go inspire and change the world themselves. That needs to be the thing that happens with it. And people are so, what's the word? Like, what's in it for me? Right. And I think that's a hard mentality that we have to break. I mean, you know, you and I both know, just even in this space, like in order to get people to pay attention, they're just like, well, what's in it for me? You know, why should I listen? You know, and that's something that's so hard to kind of navigate when it's just like charity work is not about, do I get, you know, do I always get $1 out of it? You know, and that's the thing that really pushed me to create Healing in Hindsight, is that I was at first on a path of like, I need to make money. I'm desperate. I'm without a job, you know? And that's why I flopped a lot of times. And I was like, no. Because then I started, my tone was what I was seeing everywhere else. Even my branding, you know, or at least my website, I changed it 3 times because it was just all like, well, this is what I see all the white women flocking to. So, you know, let me set it up. Let me tone police my own self on, I need to sound and seem more palatable as a black woman. And then I was like, nope, tear all that shit down, redid it. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be myself. I am going to share what I know and be as transparent as I can be. There's some things I'm just not going to share. I feel like we expect way too much from influencers sometimes, of like, you instantly need to reply to me and you need to share everything that is going on 24/7. As soon as you wake up, I need to know the exact thing that you're doing. Like, no, I think influencers, we have the ability to set boundaries and say, I'm going to be transparent and share this stuff, my business, my personal life, all this stuff. That's a, if I feel like it, you know, I shouldn't have to meet those demands, you know?
And I think also being transparent in the power of honoring your truth and what you don't know and what you're not knowledgeable in as well. Like, there's so much more power in, I'm just going to follow, versus saying, hey, I don't know. Yeah. Like, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn.
And that's all I want people to see from me. It's like, I'm still a diabetic. I still have ups and downs. My numbers are still not perfect. You know what I mean? Like, there's still a lot that I need to do. But if somebody listens and says, you know what? Fuck it, I'm just going to go get a test. It don't take long. That's more than enough for me. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that's really got me going, and like, okay, how do I want to affect change in my community? How do I take this and expand it further? Because I've been in Austin for almost 15 years now, right? And I grew up in Fort Worth, and then spent my high school years in Dallas. And I'm like, there's 3 cities that have had such huge impacts on me. And I'm Texas born and raised. You know, how can I go back and pour back into those communities somehow? What can I do to be okay with that? And if I make some money, great. I'm not saying I don't want to live a lavish lifestyle. I'm trying to get on like a family compound mode, because I feel like at the end of the day, I just need to be sourcing my own shit at some point. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not that I don't have ambitious goals, but I would rather build that community and pour back into those people. So I also could be an example of like, you can do this too, by the way. You can go start your own thing. You can affect change in your community. You don't have to stay stuck here. And I get sometimes you just need a little bit of help because people just don't have money. So if that means I get to a point where I can go buy one house, one fucked up house in a neighborhood, pour money into it, flip it, whatever, and then do it for the next one and the next one and the next one. And then I take an apartment, right? And then I take a community center, right? And then I take a restaurant, right? And I say, hey, who's the local chef here in this black community that you guys all love and admire, who wants to have this? Here you go. Do your thing. right? We'll figure out the numbers to where I'm not gouging the hell out of your profit immediately. I'm going to let you build up a bit, and then you can get to that higher quality. You know, everybody would love to aspire to higher quality, but you have to give people the platform. And I've always been a springboard. I've always been that. So now I'm like, I need to take that somewhere. So I'm going to build my platform, and then I'm taking it back there, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those communities, you know, that taught me so much. And for us to just be like, I'm gonna go make it and never turn back, like, nah. And I also want to see where my money is going, because I think that's something that also gets lost in the large celebrity. There's so many people to get through, you know. And for me, it's like, as I'm making it, I'm putting it in, you know. And even if I get to that point where I have a team and I can, you know, be a CEO, that'd be great. You know, I would rather be the person of figure out how to make it work. This is what I want to happen. Figure out how to make it work. Like, no, we can't do that there. I didn't ask you that. I said, this is what I want. Figure out, do it. If I need to get more money for it, you let me know, and I'll work on that initiative, you know? And so
I feel that a lot of businesses not taking no for an answer, and there's usually always a way to do something. I hate the like, oh, we don't do it that way, or well, we've never done it that way, or that's not possible. If you can imagine it, or if you're curious about it, it's 100% possible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to be comfortable, but you can make it work.
Yeah. We would literally not exist as a society if somebody didn't say, nah, I think we can.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, but I'm hoping that the wellness community and the influencers and stuff in it are really sitting with it and doing the work, because at the end of the day, you know, we all have to do our part. And it's going to show in your personal life, because I can throw up an Instagram post all day long, right? Not to say I don't want people to do it. Do it. Social media is kind of how we reach people, right? But know that I'm not like just jumping up and down screaming for it. Anybody can do it. I've seen a lot of corporations put up the same stuff every year when all the stuff goes down, which conveniently seems to happen in the spring and summer. But food for thought on that later, you know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, people are kind of fed up and want to see receipts, you know, like, where are you donating? What are you doing? Like, how, you know? And I do feel like there's a level of trust that we do have to put in a lot of these brands of like, not everybody is like a corporation that has shares. So showing annual reports, all these things like that, where you could see that isn't necessary per se. But I do feel like it is, if you're really doing the work and if you're really investing in these things, you can go to, you know, these smaller community movements and be like, who are your donators? Shout them out, right? Because that's where the truth comes out, you know? You don't always have to do it yourself. Let those communities that are asking for help speak for themselves. And it'll just show over time. And I think that's the thing people are so concerned about. If you want to do the performative stuff, if you want to sit here and fight and bicker and try to speak on behalf of people of color and their experiences, like, it's all going to come out in the wash at some point. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're going to get a space with someone who is going to check you, and you're not going to be able to run. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's part of the internet, is you can run. You can shut off, you can back out. But in person, you can't. In real life, you can't.
I've seen it too, you know, on the internet, of people, those keyboard warriors, like I said earlier, mm-hmm. where mm-hmm. they'll type whatever they want. And then the second, I've had 2 instances where I've tested it and I've said, hey, you know, I get it. We're not going to solve anything right now. I would love to jump on the phone with you. Let's schedule a phone call. Let's talk this out. Not in these mm-hmm. situations, but different situations. And mm-hmm. both back down immediately. Just thought of, let's talk this out voice to voice versus behind our keyboards. And that's why we are in a world of chaos right now.
Yeah. But I applaud you on that, because that's what we need to do at this point. We really do have to back off the keyboard warriors kind of situation of like, I need to go in and do all these things, especially if you see people of color engaging. That's when it's like, okay, really sit back, because we don't have to. There really isn't any reason for any of us to sit here and educate anybody on anything. There's so much out there already waiting for you to do your own research. You're willing to research all this COVID shit. You're willing to research all the presidential shit, but you won't go and research the same stuff that's been going on in your backyard over and over and over again for hundreds of years, and then hop on a phone call and listen to somebody and have a conversation. So keep doing that. Keep saying, hey, let's actually get on the phone and talk this out. Let's hop on a video chat and talk this out, because that's really going to put fear, and fear is what we need to lean into.
Exactly. And it's scary for me. It's not comfortable. Like, I don't know how to have that conversation, quote unquote, correctly, which again is incorrect that I think that way, that we have to have it correctly, because there's really no, we need to stop getting outside of that perfectionist box of I can't talk about this till I know how to talk about it. It's just talking about it, and it's uncomfortable, but let's just do it. Exactly. Just do it and see what happens. Like I always say, it's always better to say, oh, well, rather than what if.
Right on the head, 100%. It's a lot. And we have to be able to be willing to hear hard truths. And that's the other thing is, people feel like their characters are being challenged left and right. It is. Because everything that you've learned and understood is unraveled. And it's hard. It's so hard to recognize that something has been going on so much. But if you're getting fired up for other things, that the wool was pulled from your eyes and you're just like, why are we not doing anything about it? Now that the light is on you, you need to lean into that and own it and be okay with, like, it's going to be messy. It's going to suck. Change. When has growth ever been fun? When is it ever? It's always been sometimes a little bit of fun and then like really fucked up and painful and messy. And, I like to use event planning. Event planning is like the perfect aspect of this.
Yes. Something
always goes wrong, or even like the house flipping stuff. Something always goes wrong, right?
I come from an events background, actually. So you plan for everything, and it's always the one thing that never happened before that goes wrong. Like, it's always something is going to go wrong.
Exactly. And you got to be able to be like, okay, have your 2.5 seconds. I tell everybody, have your 2.5 seconds. You need to feel what you feel. It's okay, right? I'm not saying that. But also ask yourself, why am I getting angry? Why am I getting defensive? What at its core is making me feel this way that I just feel like I can't function and move forward and engage? And it's like, oh, it's because, my dad was my hero and he could do no wrong. And I just learned he's a closet racist. And I've seen signs of it everywhere and I just didn't know. And now I don't know how to deal with that. And that's a connection that I don't know how to sever, or not that I'm asking anybody to sever ties with family, but like, I don't know how to challenge that because that's dad. And you don't go up against dad. And I had to have this same break with my dad. Like, the first time that he and I got in a major blowout fight, I had to step up through tears and everything. Like, no, you're not going to do this because I'm not a kid anymore. We are adults now. And even though I respect you as my father, I'm going to call you out on your shit. And we did. And we had a moment of silence for a minute. And then we got together and we figured out the root causes. Communication. You don't talk to me like you used to anymore. And I get upset when I'm not clued in onto all the things in your life because I don't want to lose that. Well, Daddy, the phone works two ways, right? Like, you can pick up the phone and call. Like, you can miss me with the superiority complex of I always need to reach out to you. That was baby Taylor. That was preteen Taylor. That's teenage Taylor. You have trained me. You have prepared me to sustain myself on my own. And even though I stumbled, fell, broke my face a couple of times, I'm surviving and I'm doing it. So now I need you to just reach out. I need you to I have adult kids. I can reach out. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. We have to be willing to break down those barriers, even if it's family.
And you broke down that barrier with your family because you care, because you love them, because you want to, because it matters to you to break down those barriers all out of love and good intention. And that's really what matters. That's a powerful conversation to have with family in particular.
It was hard. It was very hard. Yeah. And even with my mom too. Like, I'm like, I want to kick it with y'all. Like, I don't want it to be this weird dynamic where I can't pick up the phone and ask you a question about something. Like, it's difficult. Yes. But we're only going to be able to go forward in the relationship that you want if we have the hard conversations. We have to be honest with each other. I think that's why kids always tell parents way later when they're adults of like, yeah, I actually did this thing behind your back, because it's like, at this point, I can't get in trouble for it, and so now we have to just shorten that gap a little bit. So.
Oh, I used to sneak out of the house all the time.
Oh, yeah. I used to like get the Kool-Aid and it's under my bed,
For sure. So funny. For anyone who's interested in connecting with you further and following Healing in Hindsight, and you have your podcast launch coming up soon, if I can say that, where can people find you and kind of follow your journey?
Yeah, so I do have a website, healinginhindsight.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Healing in Hindsight. I do have a Facebook page, but it kind of just, plays off of Instagram just because I know not everybody's on Facebook, but I do have that too. I am working on Pinterest as well, so that way, like all of the tips, tricks, and things like that, you guys can have. Podcast is coming. It's launching officially on August 15th. So it'll be a nice, full, robust season. I won't leave y'all hanging. I'll give you plenty to digest so I can work on season 2 in the background. And yeah, I'll be, next couple weeks, there'll be a lot more insight and stuff coming out on that. So yeah, I hope you guys are ready for a crazy, messy journey because I'm here for it.
I love it. So fun. So excited to see everything that you come up with now and just over the years. I think you just have such a powerful and beautiful energy about you. I know you're going to do great things. But before we close out here today, I do like to end with some just kind of fun on the spot, loving your own soul questions. These questions I just kind of intuitively come up with right before our conversation together. So if you're ready.
I've been waiting for this. I'm like, this is exciting.
Let's see, where should we start? What is your favorite music or band that you're currently listening to right now?
Okay, I'm gonna do two. I'm not gonna lie, one's a total plug. So I have a friend who's a bassist, just like my dad, and we've gotten really close. Him and his girlfriend over the years, and they have a band called American Vines. And three guys. They're really great guys. They have a very eclectic vibe. They're on iTunes, Spotify, all those things. So definitely hit them up, American Vines. And then on the flip side, I love everything Kaytranada. He's a Canadian producer. And there's so much music out there that I don't always catch when they release something new. So he had a recent project in 2019. He was supposed to be on tour this year for it and was making a stop in Dallas back in May, and then COVID hit and he had to cancel the tour, and I was gonna go. But I love anything Kaytranada. It's just just the vibe that he has in his music, and there's a lot more African influence in this recent album, which is really cool. The musicality is really cool. So if you just need some cool jams in the background, even though there's lyrics and stuff, but still just I can put that on at any time. Both this current album, there's one before that called 99.9%. And I vibe out every time. So American Vines, Kaytranada.
I love music. Music is such an amazing gift that we've been so gifted to have. With that question, do you prefer to sing in the shower or in the car?
Ooh, that's hard. I'm leaning more towards car because I'm able to surround myself in the music, and drown myself out, but the shower gives you that false sense of I just hit that run real quick. Oh, okay, watch out, Beyonce. It gives you that false sense of security that you actually sound good. But I would still say car. I love a good karaoke, road trip kind of thing where you just jam out. So yeah, I'd have to lean more towards car.
Oh, I belted out in the car for sure. What is your favorite podcast or just influential person you're following along with right now?
Oh God, there's so many.
I was gonna say there might be multiple right now.
Yeah. So definitely 8:30, just because I would not really be sitting here, literally, because that's how we connected. But the Almost 30 podcast was one of the early ones that I got into. That really navigated, and it was really cool when they came to Austin. I got to meet the hosts, and I just felt like they were very genuine. The other one that I really like following is Jenna Kutcher, and the Gold Digger podcast. I just really like her flow of things, and then the insight that she provides. Her website is bomb too, so there's just a lot of that. Evian Whitney is another one that I follow. She is a sexual doula. And so her whole journey, one, just in a wellness, but in the sex space, I felt like was really great. And as a Black woman, it was really just nice to just see someone talking through that and helping people through, sexual trauma and things like that. And it's not from a place of, Black women are always very fetishized in a lot of ways. So to see someone just doing like a genuine day to day, like we have normal sexual things going on too. Like we're not out here just these strippers and all these kind of things like the media portrays us to be. Like we're just real people. And so I love Evian Whitney's podcast. I've been following for her for a while. Her Instagram is beautiful. She just has this very free, wild soul. Like I just feel I already feel myself leading and just talking about her. Like you just want to sit in her space and you just feel like sun just flows out from her pores. Like, that's just the best way I can describe her.
And I love her name too. Evian.
Yeah.
That name just has such fun energy around it.
She's great. She's great. So those are probably the top three off. Oh, one more. Esther Perel.
Okay.
Esther Perel is a therapist. She also focuses on like sexuality and intimacy. She's very well known in the therapy space. My therapist recommended a talk that she did. Excuse me. And that's what got me, and I just dove right in. And so she has a podcast with Audible with like one sessions with couples and like their intimacy issues and things like that. And it's just so powerful, and she has a very cool thought. Also, she speaks like 9 languages, so she's just like cool in general. And she's a Polish Jew. Like her family was involved in the Holocaust and stuff like that. And she just has great insight on like relationships and intimacy and all these kind of things. I just did a whole deep dive into everything that she's in, and it really just gave me a lot of open insight and thought about like relationships in general and how we navigate them. And they've actually closely aligned with how I feel about them. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So cool. I've been navigating relationships and just communication and everything has kind of been something I've been so curious about and just exploring more.
Oh yeah. Dive into her. She's a beast.
Yeah, I definitely will. And to speak multiple languages. I would love to be bilingual, let alone speak 9 languages. Like how cool is that?
She has an episode where the couple, the guy speaks French as like his alter ego. But the wife was like, I don't understand him. So in their session, she translates for them and also speaks back to him. I'm like, oh, that's just dope. I wish I could do shit like that. Like,
totally. So fun. Do you currently have any opinions on or personal experience with using CBD or even the emergence of the legalization of weed into society?
Yes, all the way through. The only CBD based product I've used is from Foria Wellness. They're like Awaken lubricant, from Sex with Emily podcast. I got that from her, and it's a little pricey for the bottle, but it makes sense. And it was great. I'm gonna just put that out there. And then I am a regular user of THC stuff, and I'm dabbling in psychedelics a little bit, mainly just mushrooms right now. But I feel like it is something that definitely should be, factored into our society across the board. I think we have a lot of data and information of like, it's just been misused. It's just been in a place where someone wanted to oppress and have control, and they use that as a tactic to do that. I do think that there are certain drugs and things out there that just absolutely keep that shit out. Like heroin, you can keep that. Meth, you can keep that. Like, that needs to stay out of the mix. But I think a lot of the plant-based things that have been so scrutinized, I'm actually even checking with myself of like not using it so heavily recreationally, but like in my meditation, in my productivity.
Yep.
And I found, oh my God, me and my partner had like a deep convo on this about like, we talk or you hear about you only use 10% of your brain power. And why is that we have all of these like great shows and movies and things that like you seem to be able to, and we're playing around with that. And I feel like, there's an aspect of meditation of like stripping away the physical senses so you can have access to your spiritual and mental higher power, and using those plant-based things I feel like can help with that. Because how many times have I could say that I've smoked or had an edible or whatever, and I had such deep felt conversations and thoughts, and I'm like, all of my inhibitions were pulled away so I could think freely of that. Now I need to figure out how to do that without that added help. You know what I mean? And so that's more of what I'm leaning into using it for. I used to be like, I can't ever, study and do work and smoke at the same time. No, it's all about strain. It's just like anything else. It's all about strain. It's all about how much. I'm not doing 50 hits at one time. You know what I mean? I'm pacing myself. So now I'm all for it. I advocate completely for it. I think we're missing out on a lot by not. And every time that I'm in California, I'm just like, thank God I can be myself fully now and not have people look at me crazy because I'm about to rack up. So,
Right dosages that you need, and just you can do it the right way with the right intention. I completely agree, especially because you do just the deep conversations and different ways of thinking that come out of it. I mean, I've experienced so much personally through it, and yeah, it doesn't need to be controlled, and we shouldn't be inhibited by it or scared of it or anything like that. It's a plant. It was made from the earth for a reason. So let's figure out how to use more parts of that brain and just explore yourself. And I think, it's just the intention behind using it.
that's everything. That's everything. And that's how you bring in professionals. That's a whole nother trade. And that's the part that's so sad is like some of the communities that you're holding down that are experts in this could really help the community in understanding and not, going off and ending up with a bad batch because it happens, right? And being able to know what you're getting and know the quality and be open about it. Like that's why people have to act so sketch about it. Like it's annoying. Texas need to catch up. They pissing me off.
For sure. 100%.
Awful for it.
Have you ever watched Gaia, or have you streamed anything on the Gaia network?
No, I've seen it pop up a lot of times, but I haven't.
You need to watch. I think they might still have. You used to be able to get when COVID started, like a 10-day free trial or something like that. But there's a series on there called Psychedelia that goes all into plant medicine and the use of it through indigenous cultures throughout the world, and then the control and kind of what took place in the 50s, 60s, and 70s around it. It's right up your alley.
Have you seen a Reality of Truth? Okay, Amazon Prime, I think. Yes, you'll see some familiar faces, but they do an ayahuasca trip in Peru and talk, and it's the same thing of just like accessing higher power and the experiences. And then on Netflix, Midnight Gospel all day long. Like there's such deep nuggets in that. At the point that my therapist was like, "This is gold," And the animation is very trippy. I think it's obviously intentional, but that last episode, the main character is, it's basically a podcast that they animated over essentially. But he's doing it with his mom and she's like a psychologist. Oh, I cried. It was so beautiful and deep and just so many things. And I was high at the time when I was doing it and me and my partner were watching it together. And I just fell into this just like appreciation for life and understanding of like, oh my God, without giving it away. But I'm just like, you know what I mean? And so I love watching things in that state because I feel like things that are educational, not to say that I don't watch like funny shit too, but things that are educational because I really want to absorb. And it's something that I'm literally rewatching all the time because there's such good just stuff in it. And so
I know, right? Totally. All right. Final question before we close out here. This is the last question I ask all of my guests. When did your exploration to diving deeper into your own soul, first begin? And how has it evolved since then?
Ooh, yeah. I think the true work started 2 years ago. Actually because of my partner. He's totally gonna cheese out when he listens to this. I'm glad to embarrass him a little bit. So just for quick context, and I'll try to make this short. I've known him since I was 16. We met in Atlanta when I was there visiting family. We stayed in touch through numerous different relationships, stuff like that. And we reconnected back in 2017, 2016, 2017. He came to visit. And we never had the real opportunity to date. So he moved to Texas. We officially started dating, been together 3 years now. But we've had a couple breaks in our relationship because of a lot of self-work that we both needed to do on ourselves. And so he suggested couples therapy at one point. I was like, my whole being was like, no, because I just had that terrible experience. I'm like, therapists are evil and blah, blah, blah. And they try to tell you, what to do and what to think. And I'm just, But I loved him and I wanted to salvage our relationship. I did not want to let it be lost without a fight, right? Like, because the fact that we've known each other this long, like, I feel like he's my person for life, so I don't want to lose that, and I don't want to say that I didn't try. And it led to a lot of openness. We actually ended up breaking up for a short time in the midst of that therapy, and still went to work on, like, how does this breakup look like, which I didn't know you could do. It's normally for divorce stuff, but like even in a breakup, it was very powerful. And we ended up, reconciling. And then we broke up again temporarily, but this was more of like, I need pause for myself to get my shit together. And when he told me that, I'm making the short version, I was upset at first, but then I was like, you're absolutely right. Like, the first time we were just trying to show off for each other and we weren't being ourselves. The second time, though, we're recognizing, like, okay, now that I'm trying to figure out how to be myself, because that, we started individual therapy in between that time. Am I being a productive partner for you? If my shit isn't together, can I really be a partner for you? Because I don't really use the term boyfriend anymore like that. Because that's what I want. I want a partner, and that's way bigger than, to me, what a boyfriend or husband. Now, don't get me wrong. I told him I do want a ring on it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but I see it from a partner aspect of, like, build an empire together. That's what I want, and that means I need somebody who's gonna challenge me and call me out. And that was the moment where I really, so that would have been September of 2019. So we took about 6 months apart, just to really, like, we still saw each other, things like that. We lived separately, just so we could have our own space and really, like, figure things out and grow. And the surge of growth between the both of us, but, really myself, and, like, a lot of my mentalities, a lot of the way that I carry myself and do things, I never really would have explored had it not been for that. And I'm so grateful that he was willing to step up and say, shit is weird. We need to figure this out, and I was just I was so hung up on, like, I just want to keep it together. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose you. And I'm like, no, I need to lose you. I need to lose you for a little bit, because now I have to sit with myself. And that's what I've been avoiding this entire time. I don't want to be alone. Right. And it's still work. It's still a lot of work in progress, trying to understand the ebbs and flows of my personality and who I truly am, because I've buried a lot of myself and trying to be for everybody else. You know what I mean? And so that has been the most powerful moment of, like, really loving myself and getting into my own space of, like, I am kind of awesome. It's a struggle to say that sometimes, but it's just like, I'm doing some shit. I got some ideas, and I have this entrepreneurial spirit, and I know that now I'm in a place where I can really do that. There was no way the universe could bless me with any of these things if I was still in that state years ago. And now that I'm here, I'm like, yeah, I'm receiving, and I'm willing to do the work and go forth and wait for, okay, am I ready for my next big take? Am I ready to receive, the attention and all of the things that can come with all of this? Yeah, because I've rooted myself in knowing who I truly am and what I'm capable of doing. And I've built a support system that really is going to keep me in line and in check of that, not people that are just going to be like, yeah, totally do that. They're all like, sit down somewhere and go deal with that, So yeah, I'd say very recently, September of 2019 was, like, real deep. Yeah, about 2 years ago. It started a little bit further past that, but 2019 was when it really took off.
Wow. Oh my gosh. We could have, like, a whole nother episode now just on that conversation alone.
I mean, I'm happy to come back, so you just let me know. We could talk all day, like,
and check in on Healing in Hindsight and everything, like, a few months from now. Well, I love you. I'm so inspired by you. Everything about you. Like, you are truly fucking awesome. You are such an amazing woman, human being, Black woman. Well, you're actually biracial, right? You have Thai. Is it Thai?
Yeah. My mom is from Chiang Mai, Thailand. She's also, I'm like a quarter Asian. It's just easier to say half, because trying to explain that to people is just like, all right, I don't need to break down fractions for you. But yeah, my mom is also half Black, half Asian, but she grew up in Chiang Mai, Thailand, came to the States when she was about, like, 9, 10, grew up 15 minutes away from my dad, but they didn't meet till Dallas. They grew up in Louisiana. They didn't meet till Texas, which is really funny. I'm like, y'all are literally this close to each other. It's great. But yeah, so I do have a lot of culture in my family. which I love. You know, I definitely love my Thai heritage, but I love being Black just as much too.
Yeah, so cool. You have so much depth to you. I love it. But thank you so much for all of your insight, your knowledge, your opinions on everything. You're just, yeah, your wisdom. I love it. Definitely an old soul for sure. All right, you guys. Well, that is a wrap with the two-part episode with Taylor Turner of Healing in Hindsight. I hope you enjoyed her wisdom just as much as I did, her bravery, her courage. She is such a beautiful soul. So if you haven't already, definitely go follow her, check her out, follow her journey. She's already been making waves in the world, but I have a feeling her impact is really just beginning and is about to get so much stronger. I know I'm so excited to follow along with her. And with that, I'm also so excited to have all of you listening to this podcast. It's really been a secret dream of mine for several years, and to finally have a platform out here to share stories, make connections, and just inspire the world around us, hopefully give you some different perspectives to think differently, and overall just enjoy life, because that is what it is all about.